everybody. Today I'm going to review Makita's brand new XWT02 half-inch drive compact impact wrench. Now this does have 3 different speed or power modes that's going to allow you to do a wide range of things, let's say on a vehicle or even in the construction trades, and you're not going to have to worry about messing up your bolt or your nut when you use this. Now in speed 1 or power mode 1 it will have up to 59 foot-pounds of torque. On speed 2, it's going to have 129 foot-pounds of torque. And then finally, on maximum power, it's putting out 210 foot-pounds of torque. So what I'm going to do in this video is actually test that out. We're going to use a calibrated torque wrench to torque a nut down and then see if this will remove it at those different settings to see if those ratings are correct or maybe if they're overinflated. Now I can tell you just from using this, it does have an extreme amount of power, and they did put a brushless motor in here to give you the maximum amount of battery runtime and efficiency. Now this does come in at just over 3.5 pounds, and it's less than 6 inches long. So you'll be able to get into some real tight situations with this where a larger impact just isn't going to cut it. So, you know, for typical everyday automotive work, let's say anything except crank bolts or maybe some really tight lug nuts or suspension bolts, this will get the job done for you. Now, even with everyday use, you know, 210 foot-pounds is a lot of torque. And let's say with just standard lug nuts, you put them on at 80 or 100 foot-pounds, and then you drive through the snow and the salt and the dirt, and all that corrosion fills up the threads. It takes a lot more power to remove those lug nuts when you finally get around to removing the wheel months or maybe even years later. So by packing 210 foot-pounds into this, you're still going to be able to remove those lug nuts with ease. So next let me show you the different features of it, and then we're going to see it actually being used. Here's a closer look at the impact. There's a few things I want to point out right off the bat. I did install the included belt clip for right-handed use, but if you are left-handed, there is a space on the opposite side that you can screw it in, so whether you're right or left-handed, you can utilize that belt clip. Now the dark blue portion of this is a very hard plastic, and then all of the black portion is a soft rubbery material, much like the bottom of your tennis shoe. On the front of it, they do have that LED light that's underneath of there, and if you hold down this button, it will turn it off. So if you want to turn it back on, you can hold the button down for 1 second again, and the light's going to turn back on. So if you're out in the middle of the day and you don't need the LED light, you do have that option for turning it off so you're not going to be wasting electricity. The anvil on this is not like a standard friction ring or hog ring anvil. It actually is a pin detent. But if you notice, that detent pin is beveled, so it will allow sockets to slide on and off very easily. And what you actually want to do is line that little pin up with the hole in your socket. You'll notice on one side of the socket there's going to be a hole. So just line the hole up with that pin and it's going to slide right in place. And you can see once it does slide in place, it's locked in. But then if you want to remove it, you just need to grab it with one hand to pull it right off. So there's no need to actually stick a punch down in that hole to release the socket. They did design this for quick removal and installation. Now on the bottom of the grip itself, you'll notice that they do have a fuel gauge as well as the power setting. You can see the fuel gauge right now is on 3 bars, and that means that it has more than 50% battery power. If there were 2 bars lit up, that means that it would be between 20% and 50% power. And then finally, if there was only 1 bar, it would mean that there was less than 20% power remaining in the battery. Now it's very easy to change the power levels. Right now it is on high, but if we press that button, you can see that that will change down to the first setting, which is going to be up to 59 foot-pounds. We press it again, the second light's going to light up. Now it's up to 129 foot-pounds. And then finally, the third setting, high, would be 210 foot-pounds. So it's nice that they do give you that range, and it is very easy to change. Now, in order to turn that LED light on and off, that same little button, all you need to do is just hold that down, the light's going to turn off, or you hold it down again, and the light will turn back on. So there is a delay on this, so you can really use this as a flashlight. Let's say you're working down in an engine bay and you need to light something up. You can use this LED light, and in a low light situation, it is extremely bright. Now the battery on this is just like any of their other 18V LXT batteries. It is on a slide rail system. You want to press this button down in the front, and then the battery pack will slide right off. After you recharge it, you can line it back up, slide it right into place, and when you hear the click, it's ready to go. Now changing the direction of the handle from left to right is very easy. The directional change switch is right above the trigger, and you can see it will press left to right. And then if you get right in the center, then that's going to act as a trigger lock, and it's going to prevent you from accidentally throwing this in your tool bag, pressing it on that trigger, and then running your battery down. Now we're going to go ahead and test the electric brake on the Makita. So what I've done is put a nut in the vise, and then I've threaded a rod down through the center of it. So using a 1 1/8 inch impact socket, I'm going to run this in and out of here in forward and reverse. And what you're going to want to do is keep an eye on that socket to see how long it's going to take to stop spinning once I release the trigger. So, you know, if you're working with any type of fastener, you don't want it to either over tighten or loosen up too much when you're working on it. So a good electric brake is a great thing to have. So it's going to prevent accidental damage to fasteners. So first we're going to try to go ahead and remove this by loosening it up, and go ahead and watch the socket when I release it. And it is pretty much instant. As soon as I release the trigger, the electric brake automatically stops that motor from turning. Now let's go ahead and try that out in forward. Same exact way. As soon as I release the trigger, the socket immediately stops. So if you are working on something, you know that this is not going to allow you to either over tighten it or loosen it up too much. It will stop when you release that trigger. Okay, it's about 10 o'clock at night, and I want to just show you a scenario where that LED light is going to really come in handy. So this is actually an F250. The rear wheels have not been off of this in at least 2 years. What I have out here is just a standard LED light, but I'm going to turn that off. The only light we're going to be using is going to be the light on the front of the Makita. So you're going to be able to see how much it's going to light up, and just imagine yourself on the side of the road in the middle of the night trying to change a tire just like this one. Now the other thing I want to point out, these lug nuts were put on at over 100 foot-pounds, and now the threads have completely filled up with corrosion, rust, dirt, salt, and everything else, and it's going to take a lot more power than 100 foot-pounds to remove them. So I do have this on speed setting 3, and what we're going to do is go ahead and take off a couple of these to see if the Makita is going to handle it. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn that LED light off, and the only light you're going to see is going to be coming out of the front of the Makita. So you can see how it will light up what you're working on, and now we'll go ahead and just line this up with any one of the lug nuts, and then go ahead and take it off of there. And just in a couple seconds, we were able to completely remove that lug nut, and despite how much corrosion was on there, the Makita knocked it right off of there. Okay, so here's another lug nut on there. I'm going to give you a closer up view of this, but you can see how much corrosion is in the threads. And this is a 1 1/16 inch nut, so it is not a small lug nut by any means. We'll go ahead and pop the Makita on there, put it in reverse, and then pull the trigger. And you can see that it'll pop it right off there with no problem. To test the 3 different power levels of the Makita, what I did is put a trailer hitch in the vise, and then I went to the hardware store and bought a brand new grade 8 bolt that has a 1 inch shank and a 1 1/2 inch nut. Then I have a lock washer on either side and a washer on either side. I tightened everything together using an extremely powerful 1/2 inch impact that puts out roughly 750 foot-pounds of forward torque, so there's no way that the Makita is going to move any of this. Now using a second nut, what we're going to do is actually tighten it up with the Makita, verify the torque levels with a calibrated torque wrench, and then we're going to try to remove it on each power level. Now power mode 1 being 59 foot-pounds, power mode 2 being 129 foot-pounds, and then finally the most powerful level, power mode 3, having 210 foot-pounds. So what I'll do now is I'm using a 4 amp hour fully charged battery. You can see right here on the bottom that the power level is on 3, and then the power mode is on 1. So you can see it will spin fairly slow. And this is the 59 foot-pound level. What I'll do is go ahead and tighten this up, and then using a calibrated 1/2 inch torque wrench that goes from 50 foot-pounds up to 250 foot-pounds, we're going to verify the torque that's on that nut. Then we're going to go and try and remove it on each power setting with the Makita. So power mode 1 being 59 foot-pounds. We'll go ahead and take that calibrated torque wrench. I'm going to spin this up to 59 foot-pounds, which is just over the baseline. And now that I have it on 59 foot-pounds, we'll go ahead and see if this nut's going to move. We'll place it on there and we'll verify the torque. So just leaning down on this, you'll hear a click. The nut did not move. And now that it's on 59 foot-pounds, let's see if the Makita will remove it. Popped it right off. Now we'll move up to power level 2, which is going to be the 129 foot-pounds. You can see we're on power mode 2. I'm going to go ahead and tighten it up again. And now verifying with that torque wrench, I'll spin this up to 129 foot-pounds. Okay, that's on 129 foot-pounds. Now let's verify the torque again. So leaning down on this, you'll hear a click. And it did not move. So now let's go ahead and make sure the Makita can remove this at 129 foot-pounds. And it took a few seconds to pop off of there, but that is the maximum torque rating for mode 2. Now we'll do the final torque rating, which is going to be 210 foot-pounds. We'll do the same exact test, bump this up to power mode 3. I'll go ahead and tighten this down at 210 foot-pounds. And now we'll verify that with a torque wrench. So rolling this up. Okay, we're at 210. You can see it is rolled up almost all the way to the top. We're going to verify that to see if the nut happens to move. So as far as forward torque goes, the nut did not move at all as far as I could tell, and it did crack right at 210 foot-pounds. So now let's see if the Makita is going to remove that at the 210 foot-pound mark. That has been verified. And you can see it will remove it. So the advertised power levels on all 3 power settings were correct, not only in forward, but also in reverse torque. So now you've seen Makita's brand new XWT02 compact impact wrench for yourself. And because this does run on the 18V LXT series of batteries, these are going to be compatible with over 100 other tools. So let's say you buy one of the kits and you get the batteries in the charger, you can always expand later into other Makita tools and not have to continue to buy kits to power them. Now if you already have some other Makita tools, then you already have the batteries and the charger that it's going to take to operate this, and you can just buy the bare tool by itself and save yourself a lot of money. Now I will say it's very nice to see that they were accurate as far as what they advertised the power ratings to be. So all the way from the 59 foot-pounds on the low end up to the 210 foot-pounds on the high end, they were right on the money. So they didn't over-exaggerate it, and you can know if you do buy this that those levels are going to be correct. Now this is covered by a 3-year warranty with Makita, so if you ever do have a problem with it, they are going to fix that for you. If you like this video, please click like. If you like my channel, please click subscribe. And thanks for watching.